Coming up on Mountain News at 6, after the rain this past weekend, folks in the city of Everett were once again without water. More on why this continues to occur. And Governor Andy Beshear begins his second term as governor of Kentucky.
And enjoy the dry weather because we are tracking some possible changes by this weekend. Those details coming up as Mountain News at 6 starts now.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News at 6.
More rain this past weekend left several in the city of Everett without water once again, something that Harlan County Judge Executive Dan Mosley says is frustrating for everyone involved. But they are continuing to work for a long-term solution. WYMT's Olivia Calfee has more.
The city of Everett's community members have found themselves without water several times, something Harlan County Judge Executive Dan Mosley says has been a frustrating, ongoing issue for the past several years.
The city of Everett's water treatment plant was constructed 30 years ago, and it was a treatment plant that was constructed at that time to treat mine water and well water, and it was never designed to treat river water.
But due to a lack of supply to meet increasing demand.
Over the course of time, that mine source that used to produce literally hundreds of gallons of water a minute has deteriorated and is only producing 30 to 50 gallons per minute.
Leaving officials with the task of finding a solution.
The city of Everett sought out to get an emergency permit to pump from the Clover Fork River. The river source helped to be able to do that. And it all works fine until there is a heavy rain event or there's high water.
However, because the plant was never created to treat muddy water, they have to pull the pumps, not pulling water from the Clover Fork River.
When they get behind on pumping, they only have storage that will last about 7 hours.
Which is why folks lost water during the weekend. However, Mosley says they are continuously working to find long-term solutions.
The city of Everett applied for 2 different grants to get a new water treatment plant. Unfortunately, neither of those grants were funded. The mayor and the city council last week met. They did select a new engineer. Also last week with the Cumberland Valley Area Development District Water Management Council, in the new project rankings for 2024, the Everett's water treatment plant was ranked #1 in priority by the Regional Water Council.
Showing light at the end of the tunnel for a new water plant, aiming to solve this ongoing issue. In Harlan County, Olivia Calfee, WYMT Mountain News.
Now, it won't happen overnight. A new water plant is estimated to cost $7 million, something Judge Executive Mosley says will take time, but they are working as quick as possible to find the funding. In Laurel County, a London man was arrested after police say he was out of control. Last night, deputies responded to a complaint of a man threatening to cut people at a home off Mitchell Creek Road. 45-year-old Timothy Combs left the scene after seeing deputies. Later, police say Combs elbowed a deputy in the face when he tried to resist arrest. Combs was taken to the Laurel County Correctional Center. A Corbin man is behind bars following a traffic stop. Yesterday, deputies with Corbin PD pulled 24-year-old Keyshawn Blevins over for multiple traffic offenses. During an investigation, suspected drug paraphernalia and associated drugs were found inside the vehicle. Blevins faces multiple charges and was taken to the Knox County Detention Center. In West Virginia, a man is behind bars facing drug charges after a traffic stop. Wayne County Sheriff Rick Thompson says the Wayne County Sheriff Drug Enforcement Unit stopped a car in the Cerrito area off I-64 today. During the stop, they found a large amount of meth. Larry McCoy was arrested and charged with drug possession with intent to deliver. McCoy was out on bond for drug charges in Cabell County.
The forecast remains calm and cool as we go into your Tuesday evening. Here's a live look across the mountains from the WYMT studio to the London Corbin Airport, and check out this awesome sunset over in Rowan County close to I-64 in Moorhead. So we see some more nice weather as we go into this evening. Also tonight, up on first alert pinpoint Doppler, a clean sweep also continues as high pressure also sits over the mountains. So we are tracking some more dry, also chilly weather as you wake up on Wednesday. Lows back in the upper 20s and lower 30s. So once again, we are close to freezing on your Wednesday morning commute, but we are tracking an increase in those clouds as we go into late tonight, also early on Wednesday. But again, the forecast does not change much for the rest of this week as more high pressure is on the way. So we stay dry, also near average to close out the work week. Watching out though for possibly that next rainmaker by Sunday, also Monday. Those details plus your full 7-day forecast on the way in just a few minutes. Steve?
Cameron, thank you. Earlier today, Governor Andy Beshear was sworn in as governor for the second time. Kelsey Soto, who was there for the swearing-in ceremony, begins our coverage from Frankfort.
Much like the construction on the Capitol, the Beshear-Coleman administration says their work here in Frankfort is still not done. Some of the most talented artists with Kentucky blood flowing through their veins. A few influential politicians and the power of spoken word, and you've got the ingredients for the 62nd inauguration.
First, the pandemic, then tornadoes, ice storms, and floods. People lost their homes. Many even lost people they loved.
Luckily, we had someone to lead the Commonwealth during these challenges.
Governor Andy Beshear making a point to take a moment for those missing. Their absence and void was evident.
I recognize that today we're missing Tommy Elliott, Virginia Moore, and so many other loved ones. But I know that they are celebrating with us today and that we will see them again.
He says his family and faith have been a strong force to lean on during these tests of will and patience.
And for me, remembering that my Savior could have been the Prince of Power, but he chose to be the Prince of Peace.
Work begins right now for this second term. Governor Beshear does have a couple positions that he needs to fill. When I talked to him a few days ago, though, he said he is thankful for the service over the last 4 years and all the work they've accomplished, but he is looking forward to adding some new blood to the administration. In Frankfort, Kelsey Soto, WKYT.
Of course, the Grand March going on right now. We'll have more on that at 11. And as the governor looks ahead to the next 4 years, he also reflected on the last 4. Survivors of both the tornadoes in western Kentucky and the flooding here in eastern Kentucky were part of the inaugural parade. Perry County's 3 high schools put aside rivalries to march in the inauguration parade together. It comes nearly a year and a half after those deadly floods hit the mountains.
We compete like crazy against each other during the week. But in something like this, we all came together, and if you read their side, it's one community and one recovery, and that's what we're doing.
Survivors of the western Kentucky tornadoes were also in the parade. Of course, that happening almost exactly 2 years ago, with those living in the Dawson Springs area looking back on how the community has worked together to rebuild these past 2 years. The inauguration comes as another legislative session is just a few weeks from starting. Once again, it is a Democratic governor working with a Republican legislature. The 2024 session will once again be highlighted by the spending plan lawmakers must approve. Governor Beshear has his ideas, which include a proposal for more pay for teachers and state troopers and various other projects.
They like what he's doing. And they want him to succeed because they know if he succeeds and the General Assembly goes along with it, Kentucky succeeds.
The new session will last 60 working days and will run from January 2nd to April 15th. We have an update tonight on the ACLU's newly filed class action lawsuit challenging Kentucky's abortion bans. The case was filed on Friday with a Jane Doe who was about 8 weeks pregnant. The ACLU said in a statement today that the plaintiff has learned her embryo no longer has cardiac activity. Julia Sandor spoke to advocates who say this is still an ongoing fight.
It's been more than a year since nearly all abortions were banned in Kentucky. Just last week, a Kentucky woman filed a lawsuit challenging the state's ban. The Commonwealth currently has a 6-week abortion ban and a trigger law, which bans abortions, with the only exception being to save the life of the patient or prevent serious injury. There are no exceptions for rape or incest.
It's really important that people understand that our reproductive health is tenuous at best in Kentucky, and that Jane Doe is incredibly brave, and we are so honored and proud to stand with her in this fight to obtaining our reproductive rights back in Kentucky.
In a statement from the ACLU's Reproductive Freedom Project Deputy Director, Bridget Amiri, she says that the plaintiff has learned her embryo no longer has cardiac activity. It says in part, Kentuckians like Jane should be able to focus solely on their health and should not have to worry about bringing a lawsuit. They add that, unfortunately, patient-led challenges like Jane's are our only path forward to strike down the bans under the right to privacy and right to self-determination.
And if there is anybody watching who, like Jane Doe, finds themselves pregnant and wanting an abortion, this is a class action lawsuit, and they can also join us.
Julia Sandor, WKYT.
Well, high pressure is the big story as we go into this evening, but some changes on the way by this weekend. Your first alert forecast coming up. Plus,
more than a year has passed since the July 2022 flood heavily damaged one Knott County elementary school, and teachers are still trying to help students move forward.